Hey guys, welcome back to the Hoops Post Up. This is your Fantasy 5 fix. We're going to talk about the Furious 5 Fantasy, not risers and fallers, actually. Thought I was going to go there because that's what we did last week. It's going to be a little different. We're going to switch it up and give you some advanced stats this time. As always, I am Pierre. With me is my beautiful and talented wife, Velma. Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
It's Halloween night, and so I figured I'd represent with a little Halloween themed color. And you're going as a black cat, I assume?
Wearing black, yes, my favorite color.
All black. Okay, so a little orange and black. Why not? You know, a color of the basketball too.
Sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. There is some good NBA action on Halloween night. Sadly, we'll be trick or treating, but we'll record it. We'll probably watch it back when we get back home, which will be very late. Okay, you ready? Ready to start the show?
Yes, let's go.
Let's do it.
Welcome back, everyone. This week we are going to be talking about usage and per 36 stats. Last week we talked about risers and fallers.
So a little bit different, like I mentioned, advanced stats this time. You know about the obvious ones: points, rebounds, assists. Anybody can figure that out, right? The more the better. But we're going to decipher some of these things, such as usage rate. Let's get into it, and let me show you, first of all, some of our usage sleepers. Now, obviously, a very small sample size here, right? Take it all with a little bit of grain of salt, but they got a few games under their belt now, usually at least 4 games. And of course, these numbers could change. But here's what I'm looking at so far.
So we have our fantasy 5, right? So the first one we're going to take a look at is Bojan Bogdanovic.
Well said, well said. Not to be confused, of course, with Bogdanovic. Big difference there. Not really. But this is the Utah version, not the Sacramento version. And so Bogdanovic, kind of overlooked to me because, of course, Utah already has their core there. Mike Conley, the big addition. You know, Gobert, a guy that you definitely want in fantasy just because of blocks, if nothing else. And so he's kind of flown under the radar. Now, he is 80% owned, so it's not a great chance that you'll find him necessarily on waivers. But this could be actually a buy low early candidate because if you look so far, almost 30% usage rate.
Okay, so talk to everyone about the buy low. Tell me why, what that's about, and maybe for someone who's just starting out for usage, talk to us about that.
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked. Okay, so usage, for those who don't know, obviously it's kind of what it sounds like. It's how often a player is used. So it's not exactly the same as shots taken. It's not just minutes played. It's how many plays a player was involved in directly, whether they took a shot, maybe they turned the ball over, that counts as usage, something where whatever happened, they were directly involved in. So you can imagine when I talked about both scoring and turning it over, maybe a guy like Russell Westbrook comes to mind. So he's a guy who's always involved, always has hands on the ball. You know, James Harden. It goes without saying the big name players, right? The star players are the ones who
You're
have the
gonna have
highest
high.
usage rate.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say the most usage,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
So we're not looking at those guys. We already know who had the highest usage rates. We're looking at sleepers, guys who you wouldn't think would be up there. You know what I mean? But maybe have a higher usage rate than you would expect. League average usually sits around low 20s. And a few years ago it was below 20, like 19.6. So you're looking at about 20% mark. That's just average. The star players, top 10 guys, are going to be about closer to 30, really. Maybe 29. So if you see something that's 25 or above, that should catch your attention if it's a guy who isn't universally owned.
Okay. All right.
All right, so let's talk about these guys. So look at Bogdanovic. I mentioned almost 30%. He's up there. He's
Right.
among the top 40 players already.
R-
So that's pretty surprising. Why do you think that is? I mean, we talk about Utah. Do you think Mike Conley's early struggles shooting have something to do with it?
That people went and sought him to put on their team. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because you think, well, I mean, you know, Conley's a guy we don't need to worry about too much, but
No, no.
okay. So this might change, but he's off to a pretty good start. So I think that's something that's encouraging. What
Another
else?
another player we want to talk about is Spencer Dinwiddie.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So he's 70% owned. And talk to us about his usage.
Okay, so 31%, which is actually very surprising. Now we know that obviously KD being hurt, there's not a whole lot of depth necessarily to that Nets team.
Hmm.
Um, when you think Nets, who are you thinking of automatically? He's taking all the shots and all the usage.
Kyrie, of
Yeah.
course.
So who's after Kyrie? Well, Dinwiddie's up there. And in fact, there was a comment the other day, I think it was Sean Marks who said, we got our core guys. And of course, KD doesn't count quite yet because he's not playing for them yet. We got Kyrie. And there was a top three with Levert and then Dinwiddie. They were mentioned. So the fact
Wow.
that Dinwiddie is considered, I mean, that's definitely not a big three.
No, it's not. But if
But
if you're talking about like 31% usage at
uh
this time for him, that's pretty good.
yeah, he's gonna get that many touches because again, after Kyrie, it's Levert and then Dinwiddie, maybe in that order. And so the fact that he's up there tells you something. Now, again, not necessarily going to be available on your waiver wire, but a guy that maybe could be a nice buy low, or seek him out because over fourth leagues, he's still there.
All right. So our next player that's coming up that we want to talk about is definitely Isaiah Thomas.
Hmm.
Isaiah Thomas actually is only 40% owned at this time. So talk to our fantasy newbies,
Hmm.
right? About what we want to do with Isaiah.
What do we do with Isaiah? That was a question all last year. There was a lot of people
Yeah.
who were stashing him and hoping he would come back, and it didn't work out.
Mm.
I mean, we know what he's capable of, but we also know that he's capable of being injured still, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's
I
tough to
like him.
say. He, I mean, he could be such a great player when he plays, but we're waiting and seeing, and supposedly any day now he's going to come back.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this is more of an opinion than anything. When you have a player who's missed so much time and has kind of been injury prone the last couple of years, do you kind of err on the side of caution and say, let me wait and see it, to see if he actually does something and stays healthy for more than a week? Or do you think like snatch him now, stash him before somebody else picks him up
Well,
because it might be too late?
for me, I'm not like a fantasy expert, but when I play, I'm going to think about what he's done in the past. I'm going to kind of look over what his stats have been before, and maybe he has some incentive. Maybe he has something to prove. Maybe he
Oh,
wants
yeah.
to come out and show everyone that he can still, handle the ball and play. So would, I would pick him up.
Your more optimistic side as far as
Well,
yes, he's going to be good, or no, I don't want to deal with it. He's not going to be healthy.
when I think of Isaiah,
Mhm.
I want to pick him up.
Okay, because
I
the
think,
ceiling is so high.
yes,
Okay.
for me.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no right. It's a tricky situation because he could very easily, be limited, get hurt again. You don't know. But John Wall out pretty much for the season. Ish Smith, I think, has been starting at point guard. That's not a big threat. So he's definitely going to get a chance. But what I wanted to show you is the fact that just in limited minutes so far, not full time, of course, 30% usage rate, that could be a good sign going forward. But again, kind of keep your fingers crossed there.
All right. Our next player up is going to be Dwayne Bacon.
Well, of
Talk to me
course,
about Dwayne.
everybody loves bacon.
We do for sure. That's
This one
us.
real quick, yeah, 23%, nothing great. He's a bench player on a not so great team, but again, we know Kemba's not there anymore. This is a guy who will have some opportunities to score the ball. He's not going to help you if you're in a roto league, in any one stat per se. A little bit more balanced profile here. But you need some points, and you need somebody you can plug in a flex spot off the bench. Bacon could get some good minutes.
So you talk about Roto League versus,
Points, where you're
okay.
doing cumulative, and actually he would be a decent play for there too, right? Because he's kind of going to give you a little bit of everything. But again, in a roto league, he's not necessarily going to give you, a big boost in steals or rebounds, anything like that.
Okay, very good. All right. So now we have Jordan Clarkson.
Jordan Clarkson,
And
there you
he's
go.
also only 15% owned, and his usage rate is 25%. Sorry, 25%.
Right, so guy who definitely can get some run. Maybe hasn't had a chance to showcase everything he's capable of at this point, but if you're looking for a guy who is readily available, I'd say probably a little more upside than Bacon. Not that he's on a better team because he's definitely not, but a guy I think who get As you see, the usage already is a little bit higher, and I think it will continue to be the rest of the season. So that's kind of a nice guy with some positional versatility as well. So those are our usage sleepers.
And now we're going to transition to per 36. So you're going to tell the viewers out here what is the difference between per 36 stats and usage.
Obviously. So usage, again, talking about how much a guy is directly involved in a play. And per 36, again, we know about points per game, rebounds per game. That's pretty obvious. It's what they average per game. You take the total, you divide it by the number of games played. That can be misleading, though, because a guy, you know, for example, think about Trae Young the other day. Got hurt in, I think it was the second quarter, left the game. You know, you score 5 points and then you leave early because of an injury. That's a game played and that's 5 points scored. It hurts your average.
Okay, so one more time. Per 36 versus per game.
Right.
Again, tell me, I'm not the expert on fantasy.
So per 36 minutes, how much are you averaging in everything, right? Points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, whatever, fouls, per 36 minutes played. So instead of dividing by the number of games, you're dividing by the number of minutes and then times 36.
Excellent.
Now, why 36? Well, how long is a basketball game? Think about it. There's 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Each quarter is 12 minutes.
minutes.
That's 48.
Right.
Is there any basketball player that we know of that has ever played all 48 minutes of a game?
No.
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 Even the best of the best, right?
No.
Doesn't matter how young or whatever. You don't play all 48 minutes.
No.
The typical stud player, a starter, will play about, let's say, 36.
I would say 36 to 38.
Right,
That's
you can just sit
around
out.
their range, right?
Yeah, typically. And again, it all depends.
I think
but
when LeBron got cramps that one time, I think he played like 42.
yeah, well, that was the air conditioning. But anyways, so the fact is 36, whatever it is, that's your baseline, and that's going to tell you, you know, if you're an average starter, that's going to compare the stats kind of equally as opposed to per game. So why look at this for sleepers? Because, well, you have a guy who's a bench player, somebody who doesn't play even close to 36 minutes. Maybe he plays 20 minutes, maybe he plays 15. But if he's averaging per 36 a very high number, then that shows you what if there's an injury? What if he becomes a starter? What if something happens where his minutes go up? What if his minutes go up?
Right?
His per game, yeah. Well, now he's never going to be a starter because he's such a good 6 man, right?
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, in case someone gets injured, he could always end
his
up
minutes will go up, right?
Being put in that position.
Think about your favorite guy, 6 man, right? Manu Ginobili.
Yes, he
his
always
per
played.
36. Outstanding. Anyways, so looking at sleepers here, guys who, if again, you don't want to project injuries, but an injury or somebody struggles.
You talk about injuries, and we reflect on this past week. There have been quite a few.
There have been, absolutely.
And I always go back to conditioning. It's like, what's going on? I don't understand, because I think there's quite a few injuries that have happened lately.
It's true. And then there's load management, the guys, and I'll always look at players on teams where you know the stars are more prone to sit, which is why we have a clipper on there, because there's a certain clipper who has load management quite a bit.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to the sleepers for this week. So per 36, now these are also guys who just by their play off the bench might earn themselves starting roles. The first guy there.
So let's talk about Devontae Graham.
All right, so Graham is off to a really hot start. Had a pretty decent year last year, but really coming into his own and could take away the starting job. You never know. I mean, he's averaging right now
20 points,
20,
9.5 assists, and oh my gosh, look at his 3-point. 4%?
That'll play. Well,
sorry.
3-pointers made.
Yes.
Yeah, because now some leagues do play with 3-point percentage.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking at percentage yet. That's way too small of a sample size for
Right.
that. But 3-pointers made, I know that's definitely a counting category.
So he's had 4 3-pointers made on average.
So if his minutes go up, he's going to help you
Not
with
bad
threes.
for 36 minutes.
Not bad at all. 20 points, 10 assists.
Good.
Not bad.
Excellent.
All right, and he is about half owned, so decent chance, depending on the depth of your league, he's out there. And that's a point guard that you can put in, depending on who else you got.
Okay. All right. Up next. You're
You're gonna say that name. I'm gonna make you say that name.
Oh my gosh. I rehearsed this. Sorry, I'm gonna blow it. It's Iviaka something
It's not
Subiash.
Ivanka. Vitsa
Ivica, wait. Zubats.
Zubat. Very good. See,
Okay.
Ivica
Ivica Zubats.
Zubats.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I
Okay.
apologize.
So Zubats is 33% owned. This has already shot up quite a bit because early in the season we thought, well, he's just going to get limited minutes. And we know that Montrez Harrell is a beast and he does his thing. But Zubats played pretty well now that he has a stronger supporting cast. And look at those numbers right there.
Okay, so he's got 20 points on average, right? 13.3 rebounds. That's amazing. And then 4.5 blocks.
And that is actually the
Wow.
real thing that should catch your attention because blocks, of course, harder to catch up in, as a category. The rebounds, that'll even out over time if you have somebody who's
It's
strong,
impressive, but in
the
fantasy, I know
blocks,
it makes a difference. Blocks definitely will impact.
bigger difference. That's why a guy like who's a limited scorer, I already mentioned Rudy Gobert, is, a very early round pick just because of that, right? Defensive minded player, but just because of his shot blocking.
Right.
So if Zubats can help in rebounds and blocks, that's definitely somebody you want to add.
All right, Nikhil Alexander Walker. Nikhil Alexander Walker. So he's only 11% owned at this time. So tell me, why do I want to pick him up?
Well, this is a guy whose minutes aren't necessarily guaranteed to shoot up too much. So the per 36 is pretty good. The main thing here is look out for injury because, of course, behind the perpetually injured Drew Holiday, and there's a good chance that at some point he'll be earning some starts. And of course, if he continues to play the way he has, he's impressed all through the summer. This is a guy to kind of stash away, I'd say, for deeper leagues, at least
Nice.
12 teams.
I like how you say
14 would be
that.
ideal.
Keep him there
Yeah.
just in case.
Right. These aren't morning guys, sleepers. Again, these are guys
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want to plug and play right away because not just a small sample, but they might not fit into your lineup depending on the depth of your league. But this is a guy to keep an eye on.
All right, so up next is Josh Okogie.
All right, and this is a guy not really on anybody's radar. You can see barely owned. Been in the starting lineup a bit for the surprising Minnesota Timberwolves. Did fall to Philadelphia the other day, but started out strong, and he could earn himself a strong place in the rotation going forward. Really, there's just not much depth there in Minnesota, so this is a guy who, again, kind of help across the board. Not going to stand out in any category, but you see the main thing there at the end.
I see steals.
There you go.
Yeah, steals for sure. He's got 3 steals. Yeah.
Per 36.
Per 36.
So just like the blocks, harder to catch up in. Keep an eye on him for that.
And the next one we have is Damian Lee. Wow, not owned, really.
And
2%. 2%. But we're looking at his numbers. Per 36, 21 points, 10 and a half, no, almost 11 rebounds. And then 3 3-pointers.
So first of all, who is Damian Lee? We don't even know. I'll admit to you, I had very little knowledge of Damian Lee before I dug into the stats. And this is somebody that you do now want to keep an eye on for a couple of reasons. Number one, of course, the stats that we just showed you. But the very sad news, of course, of Steph Curry. Don't know exactly how long he's going to be out, but it's going to be a little while for sure.
Yeah.
You know the guys are going to step up and have to play minutes, so there's no way his minutes won't go up. Now, a lot of people are looking at Eric Pascal because his minutes already have gone up, and he's a guy who will get a chance. But if you want to dig deeper, this is my deep sleeper here to look at, Damian Lee, because he can shoot, and he's a guy who will have a chance to move on up. So, again, in a deeper league, I would say he's a guy to look at because his per 36 numbers are better than Pascal's so far.
Wow, that's nice.
So
Go get him.
and
He's
with a
only
deep
at 2%.
sleeper. Easily available, easy to drop if he flops. So
Nice.
there you go. All right, guys, that's been our Fantasy 5 for this week. Check out all our other videos, especially your very favorite, which is Fashion Friday. All right.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe
Of
and
course.
click on that notification bell, and we would love to have you back. Thank you so much, fantasy players. We appreciate you. Have a great Friday.
All right. Happy Halloween.
Yes.
It's after Halloween. All right, peace.
Peace and love.
You forgot.
No, peace and love.